Okay, controversial statement right out of the gate. Genesis has solved the problem that the Germans have been struggling with for years. And before you click away and think that I'm crazy, hear me out. See, the Germans keep building luxury SUVs like they're apologizing for not being sedans. Genesis built the GV70 like they actually understand what people want from a luxury SUV in 2026. And after living with this thing, I think I can prove that Genesis isn't just competing with the Germans anymore, they're showing them how it can be done. Let me walk you through what I mean, because this might change the way you think about luxury SUVs entirely. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. The GV70 has become Genesis's best-selling model, which means one of two things. Either they've figured out something that everyone else didn't, or Americans have suddenly developed a taste for Korean luxury. My money is on the former, but the only way to really find out is to drive this thing like it's meant to be driven. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. For 2026, Genesis has bestowed a number of updates on this GV70, both inside and out. I'm sure you've already spotted the new grille and headlamps. There's a new 27-inch OLED display that we're going to talk about. They've upgraded the remote smart parking assist. There's a lovely Bang & Olufsen sound system, and don't forget their complimentary scheduled maintenance and concierge service that's included, as well as their industry-leading warranty. The power unit is a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. It makes 375 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 391 pounds of torque from 1,300 to 4,500 RPM. Yes, in 2026, those numbers might seem modest, and I think it's Genesis's way of saying, sure, we could have it make more power, but we're trying not to kill anyone. Transmission's an 8-speed automatic. It is all-wheel drive, of course. Steering's variable ratio, variable assist. Suspension is based around a McPherson strut multi-link setup at the front, multi-link at the rear, with adaptive dampers and road preview. Brakes are 4-piston calipers clamping 14.2-inch rotors at the front, 13.6-inch rotors at the rear with single-piston calipers. Wheels and tires on this top trim are 21s, towing capacity is 3,500 pounds, and curb weight is a little over 4,700 pounds. Excellent. There is one thing about impressive specifications, and that is if those impressive specifications actually work when things go sideways, like when the sun decides to blind you. The F17 Elite's triple camera system, 4K front, 1080p rear, plus that full-color interior camera means nothing if you can't capture usable evidence when your situation gets challenging. Most dash cams let you down spectacularly in high-contrast situations. Imagining driving directly towards the sun or exiting a tunnel, or that oncoming driver has conveniently left on his super bright high beams. And these are situations where HDR actually works, or it's simply marketing hype. Look at the details of this shot as I'm driving into a high contrast situation. Notice how the F17 Elite's two-way HDR maintains detail. This isn't post-processing magic, this is real-time capture optimization. Same thing at night. Bright LED headlamps would normally wash out everything else in the frame. But the HDR processing even maintains license plate legibility even with direct light sources in the image. The touchscreen allows you to switch between any of the 3 feeds instantaneously, just as smooth as your smartphone. And yes, one of you, my friends, can win your own Redtiger F17 Elite dashcam system, including the hardwire kit. All you need to do is visit the link in the description below, or it's here on the screen, and check it out for your chance to win. If you'd like to buy your own Redtiger F17 Elite dashcam system, well, go to Redtiger's website, use the promo code F17ECAM for a special discount during Redtiger's anniversary promotion that starts on June 15th. This dashcam is proof that sometimes technology does what it claims to on the box. Now, about modern infotainment systems, let's get back to our regularly scheduled episode. Behind the wheel, I'm very happy here. And speaking of the wheel, love the shape and the size of it, save for this flat bottom bit. I know it's a styling thing, and I'm really not a big fan of these. It feels great in my hands. It's absolutely suited perfectly, designed perfectly for the task at hand. There are some shift paddles on the back of the steering wheel, and we have secondary and primary controls for a number of features and functions in this GV70. This seat, however, is fantastic. It's just the right shape. It's well bolstered. It's extremely comfortable, highly adjustable. It's heated, it's cooled, and it has a massaging function. If I'm going to raise a complaint about the seat, it's that I'd like to get it a little lower. I'd like a little bit more adjustment to get the seat lower in this GV70. After that, what we're faced with is modern Genesis ergonomics. What that means is that it's simple, straightforward. There's no learning curve here whatsoever. It's very easy to feel at home in here. The only thing I would complain about is the finish on this screen for the climate controls, and in some lighting conditions it's difficult to see, but I think that's really my only complaint here. Really appreciate this dial based shifter, and the way it works is absolutely perfect. It feels like jewelry in your hand as well. What I haven't touched even once is this controller for the infotainment system, and because it's touch based, this really becomes redundant in here. I know some drivers will appreciate it, but I'm using this as a touch-based screen. That works perfectly for me. And speaking of this screen, yeah, lots of people complain about these big screens on the dashboard, but here it's not obtrusive in any way, and it does one thing that no other system that at least I've seen does, and does extremely well. That is, I've got CarPlay running, as you can see, but in the instrument cluster, what it's actually doing at the same time is displaying my map from Waze. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a game changer, because I can have whatever I'm listening to on Spotify, but then here, no matter what I'm doing, I've got Waze with my destination showing. It is absolutely a game changer. It's like Genesis decided, what if we make tech that actually works instead of just looking impressive? A revolutionary concept, I know. They've updated the ambient lighting system for 2026, and it's actually pretty stunning at night. Can't really depict it in this video, but it's very, very cool. It has more moods than I have moods in a week. Visibility is top notch, starts with big windows all around, large outboard mirrors. There is the camera mirror here. Really dig these things because they have a wider field of view. And when this is running and you've got your outboard mirrors adjusted properly, blind spots aren't real. In terms of spaciousness, well, I'm very happy here. Your front seat passenger have all the room that they need. It's very comfortable here, very spacious, and this cabin is just stunning, as you're seeing throughout this episode. The second row is more than spacious enough for full-size adults, maybe 2 maximum. You probably could fit 3 back there for shorter drives, but 2 on a long journey, no problem at all. And even under the hatch, there's plenty of room. And even with all the gear that I carry, I'm not taxing the cargo carrying capacity of this GV70. That looks all right on the outside, but let's give it a shot, shall we? Launching this thing is fairly easy. Just stand on the brake, stand on the gas, and let's go. Remarkably quick. Wow. Impressive. And anytime I've driven a GV70, it is impressive how quick it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Genesis is posting pessimistic numbers about power and torque output here, because this thing is real world quick, and on top of it, it seems like the actual 0 to 60 number is sub 5 seconds, about 4.8, if you can believe it. And top speed, well, more than we need in this part of the world, that's for sure. Apparently, this will do 150 miles an hour. And fun fact, this makes more power than the Porsche Porsche Macan and costs less than explaining to your financial advisor why you need an SUV that says Porsche on it. One of my tenets for a luxury motoring experience is the abundance of power and torque. And Genesis has tuned the torque delivery of this V6 twin turbo to suit the luxury driving experience of the GV70. It's smooth and predictable with enough authority to make you question why anyone needs any more torque than this. Peak torque's available from just 1300 RPM, and that means this thing pulls like a freight train from basically idle, but without the drama or the noise complaints from your neighbors. And the transmission shifts quickly both up and down the box, little bit of rev matching on downshifts as well. The way the all-wheel drive system works is Genesis's way of saying, we've solved traction. It's not just about bad weather, it's about making all of that power and torque usable in the real world instead of just impressive on paper. The system thinks faster than you do, responds smoother than most people, apologize, shifting power around like a really good DJ mixing tracks. And no matter what the situation, you don't notice it happening, it just works. It's the difference between having all-wheel drive and having confidence to drive your all-wheel drive performance luxury SUV.
Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode.
When it comes to handling, we have a lot to talk about, and it's probably not what you think. This GV70 has been with us for a little bit, and it's already a proven platform, very satisfying to drive, but there is one key difference here that I absolutely love. There are two modes to brakes. Yes, you can have a comfort mode or a sport mode, and instead of using a vacuum brake booster, what they've done here is they've used a system from Bosch that is an electronically controlled electric brake booster, so they can have two levels of brake assist. The comfort mode is just fine. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but the sport brake mode is absolutely to my liking. It requires more pedal pressure, and I've got finer control of the brake pedal in that sport brake mode. It does a wonderful job, feels completely natural. This brake pedal is exactly what I'm looking for. Well, enough talking about dynamics. Let's hit some corners, shall we? Let's. Turn-in response, excellent. Brakes, of course, they're fantastic. Suspension's doing a great job of soaking up these bumps. This is a very rough road. Downshifts, immediate, nice, responsive out of that transmission. Really appreciate that. Pulls hard out of the corner. This road is always a good test of any vehicle's dynamics, that's for sure. Bumpy, and we have a tough corner here. Off camber on the exit. Let's see how this GV70 does. No problem at all. On power, there was no push. Absolutely love it. Tracks wonderfully through the corners. With the dampers in their firmest settings on these very terrible roads, you definitely feel it, but the body and wheel control is absolutely perfect. I've switched this to the softest damper setting, and there's a little extra secondary movement, but this is probably the setting that your passengers will appreciate. When you're alone, of course, you can just dial it up to maximum, and then you've got a great connection to the road. Let's hit another corner, shall we? Yes. Down a couple of gears, turn in, and on the throttle on the way out, just wonderful. The drive modes are distinct from one another, and if you're a GV70 owner, my guess is that you've found one that's to your liking, or you've done what I do, set up your personalized drive mode to suit your driving style and what you're looking for. It's like the suspension can do all things. It manages to be comfortable enough for your grandmother and then controlled enough for your inner race car driver, or in my case, your outer race car driver, which at this price point doesn't often happen, but here it somehow works. It's not harsh like some European sports suspensions that punish you for choosing the wrong road, and it's not floaty like American luxury SUVs that make you seasick in parking lots. It's just right, which is what happens when engineers focus on the driving experience instead of just marketing bullet points. Thankfully, chassis feedback is very good. I can feel what's going on in each of the 4 contact patches, and overall the chassis communicates much better than I do in social situations. In the corners, it all comes together as one cohesive machine. The suspension is extremely well tuned, the way the power gets to the ground, and overall balance is quite neutral, really doesn't push all of that much, and overall I'm very happy with the balance, certainly better balance than most people's work-life balance equations, and probably more effective too. Steering being electrically assisted, you shouldn't expect that high fidelity feedback telling you exactly what's going on at those contact patches, but what you do have is a well-weighted steering system that's strong on center. Yes, you can change the levels of assist. I just set it on the comfort setting in my personalized mode, and I'm very happy here. The extra artificial heft of the sport setting is just that. It's extra heft, and that's all it is. But in this comfort mode, it's nice and strong on center. It's well weighted all the way through the corner. Because we are talking about an SUV with a taller center of gravity, do expect a little bit of body roll in the corners, but the dampers do a fantastic job of controlling that body movement in the corner. And on some of these roads, the road surface is terrible, and the dampers do an excellent job here. I can't give them enough compliments. How do you spec yours? Well, for starters, you are looking at a 2026 Genesis GV70 3.5T Sport Prestige all-wheel drive in the US, or here in Canada, it's a Sport 3.5T all-wheel drive. This paint is called Makse Gray, and this is the matte finish version, as you've seen all throughout this episode. Interior is ultramarine blue with suede inserts, but in the US, you can't get this color combination. Base price in the US is $70,095 plus $1,500 for the matte finish paint, for a total as tested of $71,595. In Canada, the base price is $84,000 plus $1,700 for this matte Makse Gray paint, for a total as tested of $85,700. And these prices are before freight, taxes, etc. Now, in context, this is where Genesis gets dangerous. This fully equipped GV70 cost about as much as a base BMW X5. What Genesis does, though, is includes things like the premium audio system, advanced safety features, and this fantastic interior as standard equipment. On the other hand, BMW charges extra for pretty much everything. Then for those same features that you actually want, BMW charges extra for just about everything. It's like Genesis looked at the German luxury SUV playbook and decided to give you everything you want at a reasonable price. As I've told many friends before they bought their Genesis, the real value story isn't just the purchase price, it's everything that comes after. Complimentary maintenance, 10-year warranty, concierge service. Genesis basically decided that luxury car ownership shouldn't feel like a punishment. Now, in terms of specing yours, the one thing I do have to say is that this GV70 has been getting a lot of attention due to the paint and the interior. Both are stunning in person, but for me, I would not get a matte finish paint, and thankfully, there are plenty of colors in the Genesis palette to choose from to make a very attractive color choice with your GV70. And as far as yours goes, well, pick the color you're going to be happy with and enjoy your GV70. My verdict, well, let's start with fuel consumption because some of you are curious. I'm getting about 20 miles per gallon or 12 liters per 100 kilometers from my Canadian friends, and I am not afraid to use the throttle, as many of you know. I'd love to hear from GV70 3.5T owners to understand what you get in the real world, so please drop that in the comments below. That's it. This GV70, well, I think Genesis hasn't tried to out-German the Germans. What they did is they've looked at the SUV market and how SUV owners are actually using theirs and built accordingly. While the Germans seem worried about making their SUVs feel like they're sedans, Genesis made the GV70 feel like what it actually is, a really excellent luxury SUV. The result is something that just works better for real life. And honestly, it makes some of the German SUVs look a bit try-hard by comparison. And sometimes the best solution isn't the obvious one. If you're shopping for a luxury SUV and you don't drive this, it's like doing homework without reading the textbook. I think this GV70 proves that a luxury SUV doesn't require suffering, just good engineering and adherence to the golden rule. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2026 Genesis GV70 with the 3.5-liter twin turbo. Hope you liked this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. And Hyundai still makes some fine manuals. Thanks, Hyundai. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Genesis GV70s. And since you've hung around this long, well, have a look at something I think would make a great garage mate to this GV70 from Hyundai, and that is the Elantra N, one of my favorite front drive performance cars. I think you might enjoy that episode. Anyway, thanks again for watching. See you again next time.